So Logistics UK represents companies at all ends of the supply chain, from major customers of logistics through to hauliers and owners and operators of warehousing and logistics space of all shapes and sizes. So we and our members have a huge interest in the development of smaller warehousing sites, particularly in and around urban areas. We've seen the rise of online shopping and changing consumer habits, which has been quite remarkable in the last 10 years or even fewer. I think that, coupled with the need to decarbonise logistics operations, means that companies are looking at how they service those markets in towns and cities, particularly as policy changes to encourage zero emission vehicles. We're going to need to adapt and work with the ranges those vehicles have. So being located closer to the markets you're trying to serve is hugely important for our members. I think people, when they think about logistics, often the first thing that comes to their mind is the big sheds they see by the side of the motorways, which clearly have an enormous role to play in our supply chains, but it's definitely not the be all and end all when it comes to logistics. Warehousing comes in many different shapes and sizes, and the way in which warehouses are used is changing hugely. It's not just about the storage of goods. You've got office and commercial developments as part of them, manufacturing, research and development, and therefore I think people's perceptions of warehousing probably doesn't match the reality of logistics today. I think as we plan as a country for our future town and cities, we need to constantly think about how the people and businesses that are based in them are going to receive the goods and services that they will rely on. And then the logistics sector needs to be integral to that decision making, to that planning, to that strategizing, so that it has a voice and can contribute and can say, this is how we can service those markets, particularly in a decarbonised future, as we look at things like automation, autonomous vehicles. We've got quite a seismic change going on in the industry, and I think that is going to be in place for years to come. And I think if we carry on planning and developing as we have for the last 20 or 30 years, the logistics industry is perhaps not going to be positioned as well as it could be. I think urban planning and urban policy can fail logistics when it doesn't think about the importance of moving goods efficiently and at low cost. So ultimately, logistics is an industry that it doesn't operate on huge margins, and if you increase the cost or decrease the efficiency of moving those important goods and services to consumers and to households, ultimately there's only one place that cost goes. It can't all be absorbed by the industry. It goes on to the ultimate price that consumers pay, and as a country we're probably paying a significant cost because our logistics industry can't operate as efficiently as it would like due to planning decisions, due to poor infrastructure. So we need to recognise that in national, regional and local planning. I think too often logistics perhaps is seen as sort of the big bad wolf, if you like, when it comes to things like road and urban policy. So, people don't choose to drive a large vehicle into a city centre for the sake of it. They do it because they need to. And we need to think holistically about our transport infrastructure, particularly as we try to end or try to reduce single passenger car journeys. That actually brings significant economic but environmental benefits to the logistics sector, because the more efficient, the faster you can make a journey, the less impact that journey creates. At a broader level as well, the industry wants to decarbonise. There's lots of good work going on out there, and I think local areas will need to think hard about how they support that decarbonisation, whether it's electric vehicles, hydrogen, low carbon fuels, ensuring that infrastructure is in place so that the industry has confidence to invest in new and emerging technologies. I think the main thing that local and national policymakers can do to help with the issues we've talked about today is to recognise and to understand the role and value of logistics to the economy and to communities. Not thinking that by simply having a separate logistics and freight strategy, that is job done. It's every decision, every economic decision you're taking as a local area what are the logistics consequences for this? Are we make it easier or harder for goods and services to be moved around our local area? There's got to be that collaboration between industry and policymakers. Industry responds to the environment it is placed in, the policy environment, the framework that it's given. But quite understandably, policymakers need to balance a lot of competing interests. We've talked a lot today about the difficulty in balancing residential demand versus industrial demand, for example. And you can only really get that balance right by involving all players in meaningful and impactful conversations.